Well, there it is. Going to be doing a Witty Reacts. This is to a Bellular news video. This is Blizzard. This is how to reforge games. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition thrashes Warcraft 3 Reforged. So it's essentially Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition versus Warcraft Reforged. So I wanted to watch this because I really like both Age of Empires 2 and Warcraft 3, obviously. So I thought it'd be fun to go through this and join me along if you wish. Make sure to pop over to the link in the video description to see this video for yourself. If you wish to go check out any more of Bellular's videos, he's got a lot of them. They're pretty good. And let's get started.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another report. And you know, this channel ends up covering a lot of bad stuff, rightly so, but it is important to point out the good. And where Blizzard failed, Xbox Game Studios team has massively succeeded. Where Warcraft 3 Reforged is...
Wait, what? What's with these presents? I don't remember that in Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. Did the feudal age bring presents and Father Christmas?
Game Studios team has massively succeeded. Where Warcraft 3 Reforged is under 1 out of 10 user score in Metacritic,
it's not bad.
Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition is at 89 out of 100 in Steam. And moreover, when you look at the decisions that each company made, it's honestly laughable. Blizzard, open your notebook, take some notes. This is how you do it. Now,
alright, it's going to happen again. Bellular's going to get angry and he's going to tell you what to do, Blizzard. I just pressed the button there. That made me go back.
And moreover, when you look at the decisions that each company made,
bring the smack down.
Honestly laughable. Blizzard,
that's for an event.
Your notebook, take some notes.
It was a Christmas event. Okay.
Now, if you're new here, then hello, we're an indie game studio. We're also doing 6 game industry news and analysis videos per week. So if you want more of that, hit that sub button. And if you'd like to help us out in this mission, then click like for that algorithm. It really does help us. Okay,
he's
with
right.
That, let's get going. So, Age of Empires 2 is a fairly legendary game. Back in 2013, it had its HD edition, which brought, you know, more resolutions, a few new features, and great...
Can I raise the volume a little bit? Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if it's too loud or too quiet for you guys. So, yeah, that's fine.
Greatly enhanced compatibility with modern systems, and it ended up doing so well that it then had a bunch of its own expansion packs. A pretty good situation. But then 2019's Definitive Edition is the latest release, and they have went to pretty big efforts to justify its existence, and the comparison to Warcraft 3 Reforged is just hilarious. So, Definitive Edition brings in new 4K graphics, new animations for each unit, and a whole bunch more visual refinements. I mean, if you look at it, it's perfect. It is right in line with the old style, but it looks so crisp and detailed. It is gorgeous, a perfect job. And I mean, man, the new building destruction animations, it just looks so good. So, okay, there's some graphics. What else, though? Well, the soundtrack was remastered.
Soundtrack's really good.
If you want the older version.
Really good.
And then content-wise, well, it comes with every single Age of Empires 2 expansion yet. So that's Conquerors from the original, Rise of the Rajas, African Kingdoms, Forgotten Empires.
Yeah,
and
you can play all of those.
A new expansion, The Last Cans, and that expansion
I don't
comes
think I've played
with
that one though,
4
yet.
campaigns and saves. You've got the Tartars, the Bulgarians, the Cumans. I think there's one more save, and then they've redone the Inca campaign. Then it's got the new Art of War campaign, which teaches people more multiplayer-centric strategies.
That was really good.
Player.
I like
and
that.
The new Empire
it's like a
Wars
challenge
mode
system.
Where people actually start off with pre-built.
So the game would essentially, it's like a tutorial slash challenge. You had like bronze, silver, gold medals to sort of achieve. And it was bloody hard. I had to do it lots of times before I got the gold medal. Like the timing for like building up your economy, just you had to be essentially flawless to get that gold. But you could still get like a bronze and silver and be happy, but that would still teach you how to play. So they really should have put something like that into Warcraft 3. I always really liked the StarCraft 2 tutorial. It's been a long time since I played it, but there was like this StarCraft 2 kind of mini challenge situation where it'd be like fight versus 5 marauders with like 6 marines and win or something like that, and you'd have to micro in order to do it. I can't remember what all the challenges were, but I always thought that'd be great. What the hell are you talking about, Chrono?
built bases. It can get quite intense. There's far more though, but I think you can already see in what I've just quickly listed off here that it's an insane amount of content, and it only costs $20, quite different from Blizzard's $30 or $40 for the bigger edition. And it's even better because people who own Age of Empires 2 HD got 25% off. Yeah, people who owned Warcraft 3 and BNet, they sure as hell did not get a discount, did they? So you've got the remastered graphics, the new animations, changes to units, you've got all the past content included, and a new expansion pack. What else? Well, I'm glad you asked, because there's a new global unit queue and a mixed tech and unit queue as well,
that was a
which
very
is
good
great.
feature. Like, I play a bit of Definitive Edition. Sometimes I do it off stream though. It's just if I fancy playing Age of Empires. I had the Age of Empires 2 for ages. It's always been like on my computer. It's just something I can play. I like the music. I just like building up a base and eventually beating an insane computer or something like that with either cheesy tactics or trying to legitimately beat them. It's always fun to have the back and forth between them and like just play pure random. Whatever race I get, they get. That's fine. And they put in a system so you can actually see at the top left, sort of like when you're queuing peasants and things like that. And it's a really useful tool for a macro sort of based game like Age of Empires, because you need to be essentially always building peasants or always doing something. So very, very useful. So a lot of quality of life improvements, basically.
Makes management far nicer. Farms and fish traps, they auto rebuild, which again is just a very nice feature to have. You can zoom in further, you can zoom out further. The zoom system's been redone, it just feels a lot more modern. There's a new UI for displaying villagers and resources, and there's even more UI customization options on top of that. And that's not all. The main menu's been reworked a little bit, as has the campaign and historical battle section. And then there's even more past that. It's ridiculous. The server-based multiplayer of Age of Empires 4 has been backported into AoE 2 Definitive Edition. The AI has been totally remade, such that it no longer cheats. Harder. And there's now even an extreme difficulty mode. But what if you want the old AI so it feels the same? Don't worry, you can toggle between original, HD, and Definitive AI. And they've also reworked the scenario editor. They've added in a new trigger system, which is going to be great for custom mods, custom maps. And they've reworked a few of the tile sets as well. And on top of that, there's the modding system that now works across the Steam and Microsoft versions of the game, and they've even made some of their own mods to address popular community requests like smaller trees, no snow, and they've even given a winter tile set. And, it works across Steam and the Microsoft Store versions. There's crossplay between those versions. That's not all. There's a new spectator mode. There's new tournament stuff. And there's probably other small things that I haven't covered thus far in this video. But I think you get the point here. This is a classic game that has received an incredible amount of love and treatment from the developers. And importantly, the devs were given the time to actually do it right. And then also, the original Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 2 HD are unaffected. So, let's compare this to what Blizzard have done, starting off with the older versions of the game. So, oh wow, Blizzard Force updated everyone.
Look, he's almost enjoying this a bit too much. He's become quite vindictive, isn't he? This Bellular guy. It's almost like enjoying the downfall of Blizzard. Whoa. You can sense the pleasure that he feels from this. It's like sadist. He just enjoys parking on this news.
Reforged client. If you didn't buy Reforged, tough luck. Yours was just updated, and now buying Reforged, all that does is just unlock HD textures. They also disabled the old Battle.net, making disk copies of Warcraft 3 no longer function online. An incredibly scummy move. But for comparison here, if you want to play the Voobly version of Age of Empires 2 HD for the old ladder stuff that people were doing, you can. They did nothing to stop the older versions, or what the community had done with them. That's very much unlike Blizzard. Blizzard actively shut those things down. Where Blizzard added new restrictions to their map editor, Definitive Edition added new features to it. I mean, you want to play that unlicensed Lord of the Rings RPG? Sure, you still can. Even if it wasn't ported to HD, well, HD is unaffected by the release of Definitive Edition, and Definitive Edition supports modding just fine. So it's a pretty good situation. Microsoft just went very consumer-friendly. Blizzard, though, they nerfed the product you already had by disabling its online functionality to try to get you to get the new version. I mean, it's pretty clear-cut morally here. Now, as for other things, well, AoE 2 Definitive Edition makes UX tweaks, things like that new unit queue, or the global...
Well, anyone that plays it has to download the 26 gig, even if they've not even bought Warcraft Reforged, shouldn't they? Like, you're forced to have that 26 gig extra, and then maybe that's an incentive for people to just say, well, I've got it now. That's part of the reason why I think they did that as well. Is again, it's sort of like you get the whole new menu, all of that. So it's just like people are like, well, I guess if I'm forced to play Reforged, I may as well buy it or something. That like subliminally, not saying that that would work on that many people. I'm just saying that it might work on enough people that it's worth Blizzard at least forcing them to do it. Not saying it's worth them doing it because it gives them a lot of backlash. But when it comes to extra money, yeah, it might cash in a bit more, a few more people when they see like, oh, this is what Reforged looks like. Oh well, I'll just go buy the game then, I guess, if this is what I've got.
Queue and the auto replanting of farms. They actually did work in the game to make parts of it better, to make them feel a little bit more modern. They also added in a bunch of new content and there's settings to control that stuff. Now, while Blizzard maybe originally planned to do some of that stuff, I mean, overall, they didn't do it. That's not what they shipped. And once again, we're seeing AoE 2 being treated better, customers being given a more considered product. And then there's even things like the AI. So Warcraft 3's AI, that's from the same era as the Age of Empires 2 one-ish. Did Blizzard rework the AI to make it more human-like and to prevent it from, using cheats? No, they didn't. Where AoE 2, is adding in new online features, well, Warcraft 3 added some, but removed others, and the lion's share of the new exciting stuff, well, that's going to be in a patch down the road, because clearly it's not on schedule. Then, hell, for Lunar New Year and Christmas, they even created these little, mini-mods to decorate the in-game buildings and give you fireworks and have some unlockable portraits. So there's even that smaller stuff there, where there's just an obvious level of care here. They have been actively supporting this game as well at a rapid pace since launch. They've added in new features like map bans for ranked matchmaking, unlockable medals for completing the game's many different campaigns, and I mean, if you look at the patch notes, they are incredibly detailed. They are really doing right by their customers. Now, Reforged is only just out, and what I've covered here, I mean, in terms of the support there, that's what Blizzard will have to do to keep pace. Somehow, though, I kind of doubt we're going to be seeing, events for Warcraft 3 like we've seen them for AoE 2 Definitive Edition, but I will just have to...
I often get asked the question, when are Blizzard going to implement the Naga race and things like this? And I have to say, hey, whoa. That's not going to happen, son. Naga's pretty fleshed out, but it's not finished, and Blizzard are already way behind on just trying to make the game actually play as it should be playing without any new additions. So you getting new additions like a fleshed out Naga race ain't gonna happen. Even if Blizzard got on top of everything Warcraft 3 wise, making sure the whole game runs smoothly, we've got proper working ladders, clans, etc., and that everything is now finished, tied up, like little neatly tied knot, or bow, just done. To do the Naga race on top of that would be like extra effort on top of everything else that they're having to catch up with. So it seems very unlikely that they're going to do anything like that. I would really like to see a neutral hero, though. I think that would be a lot of fun and wouldn't really be too much work. You remember the Goblin Tinker, like the Panda, all these kind of ones. Like the Goblin Tinker was, what was it, April Fool's, wasn't it? But it wasn't really. They were just testing it, I suppose, and seeing how that would work, and we got it, and it's an awesome hero. So there's still a few extra spots you could put in that tavern. And I don't think introducing a new hero is going to be that much work for Blizzard to work on. They might want to introduce a beta system or engage with the community to work out what kind of hero. Say to the community, we've got 3 heroes or something. Have a vote, and that way they can blame the community. I'm just saying blame. I'm only sort of saying that amusingly. They can essentially have a backup, so that way the community can't say, oh, you've introduced this hero and it's completely broken the game and all that kind of stuff. I wonder what pro players would think of that, having a new hero be introduced into the game. Because I think that's an easy thing Blizzard can do. How hard is it to pick up and create a new hero, honestly? Like fleshing out an entire race and making sure that it's balanced sounds like a headache. Putting in a new neutral hero that's got normal-ish abilities, nothing too game-breaking, you know, I can't see it being too much of an issue.
See. Then on the graphics side, I mean, look, things are apples to oranges, but I think the move worked out a lot better for Age of Empires 2 Definitive. The original art style is 100% intact. That is not the case for Reforged, with, Reforged having Warcraft-like buildings, but Raid Shadow Legends-like models that are just too detailed. They're a real far cry from most of Blizzard's really excellent work. Take Heroes of the Storm. I mean, it's just night and day. Now, I do admit, though, that the Warcraft 3 art would be a harder challenge to overcome in this department, but you know what, actually? You're Blizzard. I expect flawless polish from you, and you were charging $30 for this. Overall, though, I think you can see the difference here. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition has just about everything that you would want. Long requested tweaks, new AI, new content, all past expansions included. It is the perfect remaster/definitive edition. Reforged has less features. It has a main menu that is literally a Chrome web app, and one that performs poorly. It's got no new content, and unlike Definitive Edition, it resulted in the replacement of the old Battle.net Warcraft.
So I'm not really much of a game developer nor designer, aka I'm not at all, so I'm very clueless on this. But I've heard this before, like a Chrome web app. What was the original Battle.net 1.0 running on? Like, I don't understand why it's a Chrome web app. Obviously, that's not a good thing because of the way people sort of mock it. But I don't know what it would be otherwise, and why it's a Chrome web app. Why isn't it not just part of the program itself, the software? It sounds like it's something like that's external that it goes to. Like, is anyone able to explain to me what the hell that actually means? Essentially, the menu now being a Chrome web app? Because I have no idea. Is less effort required to do it that way? How so? It's not so much that as it's that they did it very badly. I think others use the same method and it gives no issues for them. I think it used to run on the software they had, and when Reforged came out, they put it on the web app, and now it's shitter FPS-wise. It was hard-coded C++ program client side. I just thought it'd be part of the game. Like, is it not just hard-coded inside of the actual exe file? Like everything else that runs in the game, the single player, the watching replays, is it not just something that's just in the game? It sounds like it's almost something external put on top of the game. It just sounds weird to me. Actually runs on Electrum. The main reason why a lot of modern developers use a Chromium based web app means that you can use pre-built buttons, etc., which is super easy. So does it come across as some sort of like, what is it, like a template kind of system? Like, you know, like a Squarespace or something like that, build your own website, but it's sort of done partially for you. But why would they need to use that like that? They've already created Battle.net 1.0. They've already created like the original menu system and stuff like that. They know how to do it. They know what they want in the menu system. So why would it be hard to create? I don't really know it. I don't understand it well enough, but
Frozen Throne installs and then disk installs being rendered useless because of the old Battle.net being turned off. So, in terms of treating their intellectual property well and providing a good experience for gamers who have, invested a lot in that IP, I mean, it's just like the comparison is almost absurd. How much better Microsoft have treated.
So they borrowed a pre-built system instead of creating something that went with Squarespace. It's not hard. They just didn't care. Were they really that shy on time, though? Like, how hard could it have been to create it? So much of this Warcraft 3 Reforged seems to have got sort of, I don't know, dished out to other areas, and then so little time seems to be put on it. But again, the credits for Warcraft 3 go on for a freaking hour and are like last for an eternity, and the amount of names is bonkers. So I don't understand what they were doing with the time that they had. I know that Warcraft 3 had problems, and getting it to be reforged was a bigger endeavor than they probably ever imagined, which is what I think dragged them behind so far on trying to get everything finished in time, because clearly Warcraft 3 Reforged was not finished in time, and it shouldn't even be released until like the start of next year or the end of this year. I think that's obvious. It needed like another year. Another year could have given them so much flexibility and time just to polish everything. But they couldn't wait. They had to get that money, I guess. The big devs, or what? Not devs, sorry. The executives at the top. It seems very obvious that's what it was. It's just like, fuck it. We'll patch it afterwards. Make sure we get our money for this quarter.
Their Age of Empires community, which, by the way, is probably a smaller community than Warcraft 3. So, I mean, it is a bit wild that Blizzard have just decided to do that the way that they did it. I mean, it's quite funny, like, RTS is not a hot genre, yet things have pretty much never looked better for Age of Empires 2, right? We've got the best version of Age of Empires 2, but then Age of Empires 4 is coming out, and that's very much unlike Reforged. You know, somehow I doubt that Warcraft 4 is on the horizon here. And, you know, that's just not the type of risky leadership one would expect from Activision Blizzard. Do you really think they're going to revive Warcraft 4 or do something like that? Somehow I kind of doubt it here. Now, I think there are very interesting differences in terms of the broader business between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, and perhaps it is those incentives that lead the companies on different paths when it comes to how well they treat their customers. So right now we've been having Phil Spencer talking a lot about how they're just, you know, his goal is to just get as many people as possible, and it's not really a console war anymore, because he pretty much said, like, while we're console warring, the other people with streaming and all of that are just, you know, going to be expanding massively into other markets. So that's why they've got this very pro-growth and sort of resultantly pro-consumer situation with Game Pass and with how they're treating a lot of their older IPs. It does seem like Microsoft is okay to cater to niches and to actually do it well now. I mean, is Age of Empires 4 something you would make a business case for in the current market where RTSs are not that big? I mean, you wouldn't really think so, but yet, what have you seen them do? Age of Empires Definitive Edition, Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, AoE 4, they're treating that well. Flight simulators, that is a very small community. It is a remarkably passionate community, though, but just look at the latest Microsoft Flight Simulator.
It's pretty dark, but am I the only one that would just, if I had Flight Simulator, the first thing you would do is just crash the plane? Like, I don't feel like I would be bothered to actually fly from, like, one place to another. I wouldn't be able to get probably like 1 mile before trying to just crash it. I always like the simulator type things. Like, I guess this probably comes back from the old days of like Grand Theft Auto. It's just like the first thing you do is just smash into other people's cars. You can drive normally, but you're not going to do that.
I mean, as just a sheer piece of technology, it seems like one of the most impressive things that has came out in the gaming realm in the last while. So,
little background story, actually. I think this I learned as a very young kid, like the simulation / crashing. Does anyone remember? I think it's called IndyCar Racing. It was basically like a Formula One style scenario where you have just a ring and you race round and round for multiple laps. And as a kid, I wasn't particularly great at the game. But what the game did have was this invulnerability status for your car. You could flip it on or off, but I always had it on, so you was invulnerable. And I wasn't able to beat the cars a lot of the time. So the way I would get around this is I would actually, and I learned to do this because it's just something I thought I'd give it a go, and then it ended up working. And it's something I did almost all the time. I enjoyed playing it this way. I would, right from the beginning of the race, turn round and crash into the other cars. And there would be like 40 of them, so there was loads to crash into, and they didn't have the invulnerability, so they would basically break down, and that would be one less car in the race. So the goal for me was to destroy all of the cars going the wrong way round, crashing into them like 1 or 2 at a time until all 39 other cars were broken down, and then I could go and finish the race and win myself. Because all of these cars were just sitting there not doing anything. And I don't know how old I was, probably like 7 or 8 years old. I learned this like really young, sort of like how to manipulate sort of video games in a sense. Yeah, it was it was cheating, but it was like a clever form of cheating.
You know, in like catering to those niches well, I think Microsoft does a really good job of retaining users. And for all of these things, they can kind of be, you know, like little tentpole projects that get people into, say, their Game Pass system. Of course, Microsoft Game Pass is, or Xbox Game Pass is an absurdly good deal for what it's actually providing you with, which, you know, includes things like Age of Empires 2. But if you look over at Activision Blizzard, well, they are stuck in a situation where, I mean, this is actually a really interesting thing. How much are they building a platform? How much are they just selling individual games? Because if you look at Microsoft, they are building a platform and an ecosystem and, you know, a sort of a larger thing there. There's a larger vision. Yet, with a lot of what Activision Blizzard do, they are still just selling you boxed copies of games. And that maybe changes some of their incentive structure a little bit in terms of how they'd want to pursue growth. It would maybe mean that they'd be a
Oh, I don't know about that unless like I'm the way I infer that is Blizzard have been working on their platform for ages now. Like unless I've misinterpreted what he's actually really trying to drive at point wise. Blizzard have implemented like Hearthstone with World of Warcraft, with Overwatch. Like you can see other friends playing the other Blizzard games, and you're like, oh, this person's playing like Warcraft 3, this person's playing World of Warcraft, this person's playing Overwatch or StarCraft 2, and they sort of have little achievements that you can gain that can benefit you in other games that they own. So I don't think they sort of like treat each game as its own separate thing. They've been for a long time trying to essentially amalgamate them and have them all be somewhat combined or linked in some way. So if you play Warcraft 3, you probably play Heroes of the Storm. If you probably play Heroes of the Storm, you probably play StarCraft 2 as well, and things like that.
little bit more short-term focused in their decision making, which I think is what would lead you to more conservative leadership when it comes to just focusing in on franchises that work and making safe bets. You know, Warcraft 4, I imagine that's a game that could do really well, but it's the game that would only do really well if War 3 Reforged was treated excellently, caused, more like franchise interest, and then led to, a Warcraft 4 that would have to have been a very big, 5 to 6 year project to really make a next generation Warcraft game that's a true leap forward. Just doing what Microsoft have done with Age of Empires, it's remarkable. I mean, we've not seen that many risks from Blizzard across a lot of things. Even, being a World of Warcraft person, they've developed that game in a strange, like, hyper risky but conservative fashion is what I would say. They're hyper risky and they've made big bets and systems, but then super conservative and there's not that much content, and they just sort of rely on those systems to be, well, Skinner boxes. So it's a little bit bizarre there. If you just look at Overwatch, how they've not really supported that game overly well. Overwatch 2, it seems to be pretty behind schedule. It seems like they had a lot of failed projects. And that really, like, when Activision came in, this is my personal speculation, they probably had a lot of things going, but whenever Morheim left and Jab came in, I mean, from what I understand from, the odd whisper here and there, is that that's when Activision really did make a larger push to have more influence over Blizzard. And, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's resulting in,
That's so depressing, man. Mike Morheim, freaking legend. He's like the last bastion of keeping the corruption away. I kind of like, in a strange way, hearken it to something like the body producing, what is it, white blood cells or something like that to fight off. I don't know. Like, it's a bad analogy because I don't even know where I'm coming from when it comes to anatomy and all that kind of stuff. But it's essentially like he's the last guy trying to fight off the corruption, the disease that is essentially like growing and spreading, aka Activision. And he's doing his best to fight them off, and once he's gone, that's it. That's one less person actually actively fighting the corruption, the spread of this disease. Feels bad, man. Mike Morheim was awesome. So, yeah, he felt like one of the last few sort of genuine people that actually really, like, seemed to care. Oh, it's so bad. Because we just don't have him anymore. He's not coming back.
It seems like it's resulting in a doubling down of safe bets, right? Like, we've got our Overwatch 2, we've got our D4. But even with the D4, I mean, with that Rod Ferguson stuff, you've got to wonder what's even going on there. It is just interesting, though. I mean, if you're just sitting there and your only metric is the amount of sales that you make in a quarter, then you're going to make different decisions to a company who is trying to play the long game like Microsoft is, and maybe the likes of Blizzard should maybe just think a little bit more there. I mean, look, if they had a $15, or no, that's what the WoW sub is. Like, if they had like a Battle.net subscription and they started bringing in, you know, a bunch of old Activision IP, you know, you could see a way there where they could do their own Origin access that could maybe lead to them making somewhat more risky decisions and being able to just, you know, make a risky decision because they know it can get people in who really love that thing, like what, you know, Microsoft have done here. But, you know, I just kind of doubt it. I think they're really just going to be trimmed down, safe bets. That's what I anticipate here. I mean, certainly if you're a Call of Duty fan, that's what you had been given for many years. Seems like Modern Warfare, though, did try a little bit harder in that regard. Anyway, let me know, what do you think about this? And just in general, you know, doing videos like this, I want to do that more. This is, I mean, a lot of this
very
video
enjoyable.
is just saying, Blizzard, come on, this is how a company does it well. But a part of that is that it's about being positive. It's about showing that, you know, a company's done a really good job, because in this channel, we're always talking about news. Often that news is quite bad, but there are good things that happen in the industry. And I want more videos like this in the channel, and just broadly when we're covering things, to provide like positive counterpoints of times where it's done well, because it's not enough to just say, here, this is a massive problem. I think we also do have to raise people up whenever they make good decisions. I think today's video is an example of that, as was the Torchlight 3 video. I think making more content like that, when we're encouraging the things that are really good that we want to see, I think that's something I'm going to be doing a good bit more as we move forward. Anyway, that is it for me. Thank
Good
you
job
very
there,
much for watching this
Bale.
video.
Well done, son. Well done, mate. Yeah, very enjoyable. I mean, I enjoy the Age of Empires 2 aspect as well. Like, there is an issue for me personally, though, with Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, is I get these kind of lag spikes or stutters, and this is during single player. I don't know whether that's just a problem on my side, though, aka something with my system, so something I could potentially fix, not so much the game could fix. So it doesn't run perfectly for me, so it is a little bit of a hassle to play when I get those spikes kick in and I'm like, hang on a second, I'm playing single player here. Why am I getting spikes? So, you know, it's not the perfect game. Not quite as perfect as he makes it out to be, but he certainly did do a lot of things right with Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, which is a little bit rough for the Warcraft 3, because the Warcraft 3 Reforged came out not long afterwards and it didn't do so many things right. So it's just another thing that people can use comparatively and use it against Warcraft 3. Again, I sort of say like Warcraft 3 needed another year. I don't know why. Like, do you really have to get those quarter profits of Warcraft 3 so those shareholders don't all bail out or something? Like, are shareholders having that much of a sway that you are willing to bring out a game that is going to be 0.5 on Metacritic and essentially going to destroy your reputation just that little bit more, just so you can have the money like 6 months in advance or 8 months in advance? Could you not, like, you're going to get that money. It's going to happen. Just wait another 8 months, another 10 months. Like, are people that desperate to jump off the ship so you have to keep feeding them with whatever money you can? It's crazy. Just wait the extra 8 to 10 months, make the game right. How impatient are you? Like, it's crazy these days how much they rush to get the games out when they're blatantly not finished. So, harsh indeed. All right, well, if you enjoyed this, as ever, these React videos aren't sort of like every day or anything like that. I'll just sort of intersperse them from time to time. Do you remember when you guys were panicking? You're like, oh, this is now a React channel, just because I put up 3 or 4 of them one after the other. But that's because I was doing a big catch up on all the Warcraft 3 news. I'm like, oh, well, I guess we're not getting Warcraft 3 videos anymore. Say goodbye to custom games. Say goodbye to Melee. It's React videos only now. Don't worry about the 4,000 other videos he's got over the Warcraft 3, you know, on his 2 channels and stuff like that. I guess he just doesn't do any Warcraft 3 custom games anymore. Oh, no. Like, people love to just overreact so much. I actually find it funny. Like, when you write those comments in my channel.
Never trust an elf.
Thank you, Dedrano. When you write those comments in my...
Happy Peepo, happy HYPERS, GOGGERS, HYPERS, Ramsozig Pogi.
Okay, that's almost made me lose my train of thought. When you write those comments in my channel, like, oh well, I can't watch this anymore. It's like I actually laugh. Like I do. Like you can't like if you legitimately mean that, then you're not really thinking much, are you? So I'm sorry if that's how you feel, but it's quite obvious I'm not going to only do react videos from now on the channel. Like, just because it's been on the channel for 2 to 3 fucking days, and the channel's existed for 6 fucking years, and now suddenly it's only react videos. Like, yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh well, that's it now. He's given up. It's just like, what the hell, man? Just have a little bit of patience. Like, again, just wait 6-8 months, you know, and then bring the game out, whatever, or bring your thought out, your opinion. Don't just suddenly overreact. It's just funny. All right then, thank you very much. I'll see you guys later. Well, that's it for this video part anyway. Those watching twitch.tv/Witty can stay tuned for another one, because I'm going to react to another video now, and this Witty React channel, Warcraft 3 Reforged React channel.